right, Open Floor NBA podcast. Chris Mannix, Rachel Nichols, Fox Sports, All the Smoke, Monumental Sports Network, and of course, right here every week on this podcast. A lot to get into.
I know
on this episode, Rachel. We're back into the
busy baby
to the NBA swing of things. Can I tell you my quick Los Angeles story?
Please.
So I live in the downtown area, and
Chris is the one who lives
I'm
down
the
here.
one, more of an like arts district-y area, I would say. And I was up last night watching the end of the Laker game, and I hear this commotion from a building like 2 blocks away, and it actually sounds like somebody is being murdered. So I'm kind of freaking out. And then I realized something that I clocked a couple of days ago was that we were told they would be filming a TV show there at night. These are not the things you experience living in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
You don't get film shoots in the middle of October.
What does sounds like someone's being murdered sound like? Just screams?
A lot of screams, yes. Maybe even gunshots. I wasn't even sure. It just sounded violent over there. And I remember, I think it's an Andy Garcia TV show, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what it is exactly.
Well, that's going to be violent.
Yes, it was, unless it's like an Ocean's TV show. I don't know. Yeah, that was, I kind of was, it was like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's happening over there? And then it clocked in my head like, all right, well, this is what you get living in LA.
I mean, it's glamour. The glamour never stops here.
Not far, though, from Staples Center or Crypto.com Arena, where the Lakers are going to be back on Monday night. We're going to get into a little bit with the Lakers. Also want to talk on Victor Wembanyama's incredible first week Western Conference Player of the Week. Giannis Antetokounmpo gets Eastern Conference Player of the Week. The Knicks 2-1 on the season.
Yeah.
Some good, some bad there with New York. But let's start with the news of Monday, which is that Anthony Edwards is going to miss at least a week with a hamstring strain. He suffered this in the Timberwolves game on Sunday. The reports indicate it could be as long as 2 weeks, which would put him at like 7-8 games on the Timberwolves schedule. I think this is a pretty big deal for Minnesota. How do you see this Edwards injury for the Timberwolves?
Well, it's a big deal combined with their point guard problems, right? So Randall stepped up really impressively in the game that Edwards went out. He went out near the end of the first quarter.
Yep.
So really most of the game they were without him. I thought Randall looked great. It's a nice asset to have in terms of the flexibility of the way he plays. I believe Chris said after the game, he said, it brings a calm knowing you have a guy who can step into that more heliocentric role, right? Which is not what he normally plays now with Anthony there. That being said, they have a point guard issue. Mike Conley, we knew Mike Conley was going to get old. Seeing Mike Conley not start is not sort of, oh my God, how did this happen? You know, it's really been amazing how much he's done up until now at the age he's been. And I just don't know. The point guard by committee is something they can do without Anthony on the floor. I think it's going to be a real problem over the next few weeks.
They don't have great guard depth in general.
Yeah.
We were both at that Lakers-Wolves game on Friday, and I thought DiVincenzo was fine as a starting point guard. He's had some ups and downs, but I think he will be fine. Mike Conley is certainly more than serviceable as a backup. Didn't play well in that game against the Lakers, but you can still rely on him eventually to be, a decent three-point shooter, make mid-range jump shots, lead the team in, a capable way. It was jarring to me to see Bones Highland getting minutes.
I was sitting next to Chris for this game.
Jarring.
And the words Bones Highland?
Well, it was mostly jarring because Bones Highland was getting the minutes that Rob Dillingham.
And I thought this was a great question out of you during the game.
It was just, Rob Dillingham did not play in the opener. Okay, that's fine. But then we're sitting there, and in a game that Conley was battling foul trouble and DiVincenzo was okay after the first quarter, all of a sudden Bones Highland's getting like 8 to 10 minutes. I'm like, why is Rob Dillingham not getting those minutes? He's a second-year guard who they invested a lot in, took him with the 10th overall pick, gave up a future first-round pick for him, gave up a swap right for him in 2030, and not seeing Rob Dillingham in that rotation was crazy. So, I guess if you're looking for a silver lining, it's that I guess Minnesota kind of has to play Rob Dillingham some minutes now.
Okay.
Like he's going to have that face mask on. He took a shot to the face in the 1 minute he played against the Lakers. So I guess, if you're looking for any reason to feel good about Anthony Edwards potentially missing 7 to 8 games, that Rob Dillingham might get some minutes because he's got to play. He's got to play. No disrespect to Bones Highland, but if Bones Highland is getting those minutes over Rob Dillingham, that is an indictment of Rob Dillingham. That is a player who people in Minnesota have said to me they're just not sure they can trust yet. Like, he's not a great defensive player.
Right, but isn't he in his second year, right?
Second year.
Okay, I mean, guys are supposed to still be developing. It's weird to me that they don't have him on the court developing.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, look, it's not a developmental team, right? And certainly Chris Finch and the Wolves, they recognize how important every single game. We'll talk about the Lakers in a minute, but like watching the Lakers-Kings on Sunday night, like Sacramento, you stink, but you're trying to be a play-in, playoff type of team. Those are the games you can't lose to the Luka Doncic-less, LeBron James-less Los Angeles Lakers.
Well,
like, Minnesota, I think, has the same outlook. Like, you can't afford to lose any games. You can't give away any games, even in October. So that's probably why Rob Dillingham is not getting minutes that on a developmental team he would probably get, but you got to play him. Like, they invested so much. That was a huge swing by the Tim Connelly front office there. You got to play Rob Dillingham.
Yeah. No, I mean, and to your point, now they really have to play him. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know, man. Like, look at Sacramento, exposed the defensive issues we all knew were there. I mean, I think we're going to see
How are they going to stop anybody? How? I didn't want to even talk about the Kings because I've been, like, they're complaining after the game about the free throw attempts. Like, are you kidding me? Like, the Lakers were going to the basket and you were fouling. On a lot of these plays, you were fouling. I know Dennis Schroeder tried to get away with some flop at the end of the game against Austin Reeves. He fouled him. Full stop. There was no, I can't say no. There was very few bad calls in that game. That team just can't defend anybody. No. If you're rolling out there Sabonis, DeRozan, and Zach LaVine for extended minutes, you are going to be a below average defensive team. And they are that. That was I know we can get into the Lakers then now. We both agree Anthony Edwards is going to be a bad injury. The Lakers, though, getting that win was huge for them. Like, Austin Reeves going for 51. DeAndre Ayton
huge for them. It was huge for Austin Reeves.
Huge for Austin Reeves.
Because guess whose contract is going to be written over this next week without Luka and LeBron there?
I know he's going to get a lot of touches over the next week or so with Luka out. What have you thought of the Lakers then so far? I mean, Luka had the great game in the first game. They looked a little unathletic in that opener. They looked a little weak defensively. Ayton did not play particularly well. Then he comes out in the second game, plays great, talking about Ayton here. And then in that game against Sacramento was phenomenal. So I think they're starting to build on something here with this group.
No, I think, look, the Lakers do not have a perfect roster. We know that. And I think LeBron being missing exacerbates some of that because he just gets you some easy buckets. He organizes everyone out on the floor. It's not a coincidence that some of the things that people are seeing with like, they can't do that, they can't do this. Yeah, they don't have who, are we calling him their second best player right now? One of their top 2 players out. So yeah, I'm not surprised, but I have been a little higher on this Lakers team than I've seen sort of the national punditry be. I'm not picking them to win a title or even be in that top 2 or 3. But I think that they can win. I mean, Luka Doncic is legit, man, and he has been an MVP candidate for years, and that was before he dropped 25, 30 pounds. And seeing him for 2 nights, I asked him a little bit about his fitness and how that was actually affecting him now that he was in regular games. And he said, none of this is a surprise, but the stats back it up. He's getting back on defense more, which has, of course, been one of the criticisms of him. I asked JJ, I said, how are your conversations going with Luka about not arguing with the refs? He said, quote, ongoing, which I liked. But, there has been a long time theory that some of that arguing with the refs was a stalling technique about I'm tired and I don't want to run back on defense.
Well, then he's tired all the time.
Well,
okay, because he even early on, he's complaining about every single call.
I know. I mean, I took a photo of, I posted that JJ quote, and alongside it, I took a photo of Luka arguing with an official. But also the penetration. I mean, he's much more sort of comfortable and has the energy to go to the basket. So I just think, Luka is going to be a step up from what we've seen, and what we've seen has been tremendous. So I don't know. I mean, I think obviously the next week or maybe 2 without him and LeBron is going to be a real test for the Lakers. We're sitting here on Monday. I just saw a news flash go by that Marcus Smart is now out for this game. So, which was your comment was?
That's why it took this long for Marcus to get injured. Like Marcus, like his body has failed him, I think, in part because of what he put through it for like the first 8 or 9 years of his career. Like he's as physical as they get. You even see with the Lakers early on, like he's standing in front of players, coming barreling down the lane. He's taking charges. He's being physical. Like you're going to have Marcus Smart and out of the lineup.
Yeah. And so I think they have 7 active full-time players on the roster for tonight's game against Portland. That's a team that can defend. They'll have some two-way players in the mix as well. But I'm just, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Lakers sustain through these 2 weeks, because to your point, even in October, you're going to have some issues if you get behind in the standings. And it's going to be interesting to see what Austin Reeves does because, again, he rejected the extension offer that the Lakers gave him, should have. Everyone expected him to. But he's either going to get a really sizable offer from someone else, or the Lakers are going to have to decide that we're going to go with Luka and Austin as our 2 guys. And then what does that mean for LeBron? I mean, this is a huge question. LeBron's sitting out right now. And if Austin Reeves is, I don't think he's putting in 50 every night. But if he's dropping, 30-something a night, and you've got Luka, who's averaging 40-something a night, do you use up your cap space on LeBron James?
Yeah. And I love the chemistry between Luka and Austin Reeves. They seem to really like each other, seem to really enjoy playing together.
Everyone has good chemistry with Austin. He is beloved in that locker room.
I wondered coming into the season if their skill set would have been duplicative, like if there was too much overlap between them. And I still think that remains to be seen once LeBron comes back in the lineup, because LeBron's going to handle some playmaking responsibilities as well. Austin's going to have to play off the ball more when their rotation is set. But so far, so good with Austin Reeves playing alongside Luka Doncic. I think that the key for the Lakers' success, they need a lot to go right? They need Marcus Smart to play, they need Jake LaRavia to play well. But I'm still looking at DeAndre Ayton and what he's able to give them consistently. He was very average in the opener, and sitting there on Friday at the pregame presser, hearing JJ Redick talking about Ayton needing to play with more force, more of an effort on both ends. It kind of put the spotlight on what Ayton has been over the last few years, kind of a empty calories sort of player. He puts up big numbers at the end in Phoenix, but nothing really happened there. Put up big numbers in Portland, nothing really happened there. But in the last couple of games, looking at Friday and Sunday, he was outstanding. And what I like most about Ayton is that even when he's not getting low post touches, and I could probably count on like one hand the number of low post touches that he got in those 2 games, maybe 2 hands. But like he's not getting the kind of consistent low post touches that he has either gotten in Phoenix or Portland, or complained about not getting in Phoenix or Portland. He seems comfortable being the guy to get sort of those dribble drive handoffs in the paint, catching lobs from Luka. And you showed in these last couple of games, you can still average like 15 and 10 with those types of numbers. And look, I thought it was notable, in these first few games, that even when he was struggling in the first quarter against Minnesota, JJ Redick kept him out there. Like he played him. Like he was going to keep playing him through some of these tough spots. He played the first quarter against Minnesota. No points, 1 rebound, did not look effective at all. Rallied over the final 3 quarters to put up some pretty good numbers. If he can be the guy that I saw play Friday and Sunday, they might have something in Los Angeles, because they need that kind of two-way, paint center, lob catcher on offense, defensive rim protector on the other end. If he can be that guy, they might have something.
Yeah, no, I've talked to Ayton a lot over his career, and I think that, look, maturity is a real thing, right? These guys are 19 years old when they come in the league. We are asking a lot of them, especially when you're the number 1 pick. I think he's been through multiple situations now. So to your point, his willingness to do things that maybe he was more frustrated about early in his career, that's experience. That comes with time. That comes with understanding the way things work. And I also think in talking to him, since he's gotten here with the Lakers, he feels like JJ has confidence in him in a way that maybe toward the end of either of his stints in his previous stops, you can tell how the coaches feel about you. And to your point about the first quarter the other night, that JJ keeps him in there. And that JJ is so precise, too. He's got strengths and weaknesses as a coach like anybody else does. One of his strengths is sort of the precision X's and O's. This is the percentages of where this player is best. He's a heavy analytics guy. He knows where to put Ayton in places he is going to succeed, and it seems like he is already doing that. So I think, look, we don't know. We're, 3 games in? Is this really the fit that we've been expecting and hoping for DeAndre Ayton since pre-draft? Maybe. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, and I especially like, again, that he's not griping about touches. That was a concern I had coming in. And look, just like with Austin Reeves, let's see how it plays out.
Yeah.
They haven't got the full roster yet. They're going to be a different team when LeBron James comes back. But if Ayton keeps this attitude and this type of production, that's going to be a huge impact for the Lakers. All right, we got to talk about San Antonio.
Dude.
And what Victor Wembanyama is doing right now. The reigning Western Conference Player of the Week through 3 games had the kind of numbers that we've literally never seen before in the NBA. Averaged 33 points, 15 rebounds, or was it 15? 13 rebounds, and averaging 6 blocks per game. He is the first player in NBA history to score 100 points and block 15 shots in the first 3 games of the season. So he's already etching his name into the history books 3 years into his NBA career. He's freakish out there. That game against the Nets on Sunday, he had that sequence that went viral where he blocked Noah Clowney, he blocked Terrence Mann, he got the ball, took like 3 dribbles, pulled up just in front of the logo, and knocked down a 3. Like I put on Twitter, and it's definitely hyperbole, but he is his DNA is that of Bill Russell and Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of player he's looking like this early in the season. What's impressed you the most about Victor Wembanyama?
I mean, just that his development, as fast as we all thought it was going to be, is already ahead of schedule. Obviously, the muscle he put on has really shown in the way he is playing, right? He took a lot of more long-range shots. Everyone's throwing the numbers up. I don't know what the numbers are this morning after that game, but that, I think his percentage of shots has just kind of doubled in terms of going, close to the basket.
Inside the line, yeah.
Right. And that, he has just, he's got muscle in the lower half of his body that has allowed him to just attack. And of course, that's going to be a huge strength. Yes, he can, hit a 3 from the logo, but I want to see him pushing his way in. When he's dunking on Zion Williamson, that gets my attention, right? Look, I have sat here with you for the last year and a half. I have sat at my gig at Fox Sports for the last 3 years saying this guy is going to be a top 10 player of all time. Before he was drafted, I said he is going to be a top 10 player of all time between the physical body he has, the skills he was brought up with, and the fact that his mindset and ethic was so clear, even from his time in France. I think after watching these first few games, did I undershoot it? Did I undercall it? Is he going to be a top 5 player of all time? He's already in the MVP conversation. It's his 3rd year in the league. What do you think?
Yeah, I hesitate to
be as grandiose as me?
Yes. I mean, I'm just so... I've watched every single one of these Spurs games. And by the way, more impressive, they've won all 3. Like, these aren't empty calorie statistics. They are helping his team win games. So he's producing on a winning team right now. I think you can certainly make the case that based on what we're seeing at the start of year 3, that a top 5 all-time player is not out of the realm of possibility. Because, when I talk to people in San Antonio, and I called a couple over the last few days, they tell me a few things. One, the offensive development has been really impressive, not just with the decision-making, playing inside the 3-point line, using force. Like you said, he's doing that Giannis stuff. He's dropping that shoulder, and he's ragdolling guys when he's in motion. You get him in motion now, and he is impossible to stop. The size, length, and now power, impossible to stop. But over the last couple of years, one defensive strategy that's been kind of effective has been playing a small on him. You could play like kind of this burly PJ Washington, PJ Tucker. Am I out of PJs? Like these kind of smaller guys that were more physical that could bump him out in the perimeter and force him into a low percentage shot. He's adjusted. he's better in those situations. You mentioned the Pelicans game. The Pelicans, I think they started Sadiq Bey on him. I saw some sequences where he was on during that game. In the past, a player like Sadiq Bey might have caused some problems for Wembanyama, but he's so much more patient now in year 3 that he's biding his time. He's dissecting the defense. He's making the right play, and he's using his physical tools. He's not getting sped up. He's not getting rushed. He's just really patient in those types of situations. If you can't put a small on him, you can't put anybody on him. Like, he's going to go right around your bigs, and if he's patiently overpowering your smalls, you're just in a lot of trouble on the offensive end of the floor. And defensively, like, the shot blocking is ridiculous. 6 blocks per game. Good Lord.
I was looking up the team stats versus him.
Yeah.
If he was just his own team, he'd be 6th in the league in block shots.
Amazing. I mean,
just him.
He had, like,
he's blocking more shots than 24 other teams in the league as a whole.
Incredible. And like, Zion's a powerful guy.
Yeah.
He was getting his stuff swatted back left and right in that game. You see the blocks and the contest, right? He's like top 6 or 7 in contests as well, or averaging around 10 per game. But what I hear is, not just the stuff that you can statistically account for, but he has teams so afraid of his presence that they're not even putting up shots. Like, he would be by far and away the leader in contests if teams put up shots they would ordinarily put up. I mean, I was watching that Nets game. Like, Cam Thomas put up a couple of runners that were ceiling scrapers. Like, just the kind of putting the kind of arc on the shot that you never see in the NBA. That's because anything less than that is going to get sent back by Victor Wembanyama. So he's doing that. He's become a better team defender. And the other thing was intangibles. Like, you're seeing some of this in some of the clips, like in between the huddle. He's more vocal. He's talking. He's taking more of a leadership role with this team on the floor. But what I hear is it's the same in the locker room.
Right.
He is taking ownership of this team in his 3rd year in the NBA. That's a great sign for a young player.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got a better team around him, right, than he's ever had with the Spurs. You and I sat here in these preseason podcasts talking about what the Spurs might do this season, and I kept saying, hey, Victor Wembanyama has expectations. Talking to people around him, talking to people on the Spurs, he does not see this coming season as another development year. He wants to make and expects to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I can definitely see them being in top 6 in the West if he keeps playing like this. Now, if he keeps playing like this is dependent on a couple things. First of all, he can't suffer a major injury. That is always a concern with anyone. I feel like everyone around the NBA just gets injured all the time now. We just talked about 2 huge stars who are injured. But also, is his stamina sort of playing this big a role on both ends of the court? Is that something that can keep up not only through an entire 82-game season, but then also making a playoff push? I don't know, man. He's young. I think when you're young, you can do this kind of thing. We talk about a rookie wall. It's not a rookie anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I really have super high expectations for this team. I'm excited. They're so fun to watch. It's fun to watch these young guards developing.
So let's talk about them for a second, especially Dylan Harper, the rookie point guard, who was as much a reason that they beat Brooklyn as anybody. Like, he took over in the second half of that game and was making plays for the Spurs. He is, like, what we saw in the preseason. He just looks so advanced for a guy his age and at his position, playing the most complicated position in the NBA. He has been able to step in and play right away. Stephen Castle, proven commodity as well. I thought it was notable. Mitch Johnson, who is, I wouldn't say is prone to hyperbole as a pop disciple. He said that Keldon Johnson, who's been a Spur for a long time now, is impacting winning more this season than he has at any point during his career. That speaks volumes for a guy that grew up under or came up under Pop and Mitch Johnson and has seen a lot of Keldon Johnson. So if you've got Harper and Castle playing at that level, if you're getting great play from Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell is putting up points.
Yep.
Still didn't have De'Aaron Fox back. Got to work him back into the mix. That's a playoff team. Like,
that's what I mean.
That's
They're not
even
a play-in team. They're a playoff
that's a full-on
top
playoff
6
team.
team.
Well, who's going to want to play them either? Like, who is going to want to touch that team with Victor Wembanyama all the way through year 3?
Right. And, look, we see guys who raise their level in the playoffs, right? We know that there are playoff performers. Steph Curry obviously is fantastic in the regular season, but he's exceptional in the playoffs. Tyrese Halliburton has raised his game in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler historically has raised his level in the playoffs. I can see Victor Wembanyama, as exceptional as he is throughout a season, being one of those guys who even, comes through in the playoffs even more. So I totally agree with you. It's interesting with Dylan Harper. For the 2-3 weeks before the draft, there was so much conversation about, will the Spurs make a play for Giannis? Mm-hmm. And will they use that number 2 pick to make a play for Giannis? And can you imagine Giannis and Victor next to each other and all of that? And they were pretty steadfast saying they weren't going to do it. And I think they had their eye on Harper. We obviously knew who was going to go first, so they knew who they had their pick of at second. And man, if you look at Victor and everything he can do now, I think it's a better play to have gone with a guard of the caliber that Dylan Harper seems to be turning into. And I also think it's an interesting meditation on like sons of NBA players, right? When a son of so-and-so comes into the league, you never really know what you're going to get. It partly depends on just genetically, did they get more of their mom or their dad? It also depends on the dad and how much they've been sort of a presence in terms of working out with their son and teaching him all the little NBA tricks, because that is a huge thing when you're a rookie. You don't know all the tricks. You don't know where guys grab you. You don't know where there's a little window where the refs won't see. You don't know all the little, things out of a timeout. Dylan Harper knows those things because Ron Harper obviously invested in teaching him those things. And then obviously it depends on the kid too. Does he want to be a sponge? What's his work ethic? Obviously, most NBA kids grow up so rich that they don't sometimes have the motivation that their fathers had. Dylan Harper seems to have it. And it's fun for me, just on the side, when one of those stories works out, because, from a feature perspective and as an NBA fan perspective, it's cool. I covered Ron Harper, and it's great to see the family doing so well.
It's also great to see Luke Cornett doing so well. I thought they might have overpaid for Cornett this offseason, although the deal wasn't quite what it was reported as. It's more of a 2-year deal with some non-guarantees. But he's been getting minutes alongside Wembanyama and been valuable as that kind of physical presence to playing alongside him.
Well, look, I always talk about Steph Curry as a multiplier, right? Yeah. There's guys who aren't just great in themselves. They make everyone around them so much better because of the gravity of what they can do. Victor Wembanyama is obviously a multiplier. So you take guys like Luke Cornett, or you take guys like, look, if you stick Dylan Harper on another team, maybe doesn't have a first impressive few games. But Victor Wembanyama commands so much of the floor. It gives guys the opportunity to show what they can do with a little more breathing room. And I think you have to take that into account too. At what point do you think the De'Aaron Fox is he going to get traded conversation starts happening?
It won't be till, if it happens,
yes.
It wouldn't be till the offseason. Like, they're going to give this a go.
No, I understand.
And look, this, as you know, this is
I'm not saying from the Spurs. I mean from everyone else.
Yeah, but this is the year. This is the fun year for San Antonio.
I think so
let's
too.
get into the playoffs. If we can get to the second round, more power to us, but there's really no pressure on us. This is like Oklahoma City from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
When they got in. It's the next year when all these guys are a year older that the pressure starts to pick up. But this team's looking like a real threat to do something in the playoffs, that's for sure. Even in a conference as good as the West. Let's talk about the Knicks. 2-1 as we record this on Monday. Good start. Wins over Cleveland, over Boston, we're going to get to in a second. They have a top 5 defense, which I didn't really expect. And they are 22nd in the NBA in offensive efficiency, which I didn't expect either. You can see that they are adapting to the Mike Brown style of offense. They are playing faster, no question about that. They're shooting a lot of threes. They're going 10 deep, like in the first half of games, which is not something you saw under Tom Thibodeau. What have you thought of the early returns on the Knicks?
Well, look, I love Knicks fans because they care so much. I think it's great. And they are so in tune with every game, and they live and die with every game. So there has been some hand-wringing over, like, I don't know, they don't look good on offense. Weren't they supposed to be so different on offense? It takes time, man. These players have played a very specific way for a very long time. And by the way, the bench guys that he is now bringing in when they go 10 deep, those guys barely played under Tom Thibodeau. So they've got to have that learning curve that we might have expected from them a little younger out there on the court. So I just think that that's a work in progress. Again, we're starting another season where Cat's got to stop fouling. Like, I think that is going to be a factor in how well this offense moves. But I don't have any issue with the 22nd in offensive efficiency at the moment. They're just figuring it out. There's nothing like live games. I think you've got to give them time to work. They've had injuries. I think you just got to give them time to work into this. And we can really evaluate at midseason. How is it working? How is the Mike Brown experience?
Yeah, they're still finding ways to get Jalen Brunson the ball. Like, he's still getting it down the stretch, key situations, not having to worry about swinging it around too much. Cat has been a little bit of a concern for the reasons you said. The fouling is certainly a problem. And he doesn't seem all the way comfortable yet in this offense, even though I think this offense with Cat as a 5 is good for him. Like, I think it's the way Mike Brown plays centers. I think that's going to bring more out of Karl Anthony Towns, a broader breadth of his game out of Towns. You're right. I'm not concerned about where the offense is. I just incrementally need to see it get better. Like, the Miami game wasn't very good. Like, that was tough.
But also, they missed a lot of threes in that game.
Yes.
And this is a team that's going to depend on threes more than it has for years under Tibbs. And from covering the Celtics so closely, if you live and die by the 3, and I'm not saying
Sometimes
the Knicks or the Celtics on this front, but, sometimes you die.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to have games where no one's hitting anything, and you just have to go with the philosophy, and it worked pretty well for Boston these past few years, that aggregate over time, it's going to work out for you. So some games, when you're not hitting your threes and you're structured to play that way, you're going to have a game that looked like the game against Miami. And by the way, Miami's better than it has been in a few years, so that's good too.
Yeah, I do. One thing I really like about Mike Brown is the length of the rotation he's going to. I think it's important, even if Jalen Brunson says, I want to play 40-plus minutes, to not play him 40-plus minutes. You want to keep him in that low 30 range, because those numbers start to add up. If he's going to be a workhorse for them all season, and he will be, you've got to keep him in that low 30 range so that you get to April, May, hopefully into June, he's fresh, because he's going to have to be that guy for them. I like it. I like seeing Tyler Kolek out there as part of the rotation. Like I said, 10 guys going. They've got the depth this year. They've got guys that can play a little bit. Yabusele, he's all right,
Looks a little heavy.
Yeah, but I had no I was one of the people with no expectation for Yabusele. Like, to me, Gershon Yabusele was much more the guy we saw at the end of the bench in Boston than what we saw in Philadelphia. Like, he had a great summer at the Olympics a year ago. He had put up good numbers for a team in Philly going nowhere. I didn't think so. Jordan Clarkson, to me, he's just going to be what he's been the last couple of years. A relatively low percentage kind of volume shooter, can have some great nights.
Yeah. But you know what? Having one more of those guys.
It's for a rotation player. They didn't have any last year. They were only playing. They tightened that rotation a lot in terms of guys Thibodeau trusted. So, work in progress. Good to see the defense better than it's been in recent years. The offense playing this modern style, it should eventually catch up. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about is Boston, which is kind of playing the way I thought they were going to play.
I was going to say, you called it preseason. We talked about this.
I had this conversation with Bill Simmons at the Laker game the other night, because Bill was more bullish on the Celtics than I was. He was taking like the over on 500. I thought it was going to be under 500. This was kind of the reason why. Like, I knew Jaylen Brown was going to have a great individual year because he's a great individual player.
Right.
And, having that freedom to be the number one scoring option, that's going to lead to improved statistics. He can make a run at one of the All-NBA teams this year. But you go down that list and you're asking Derek White to take the Jaylen Brown role, and Peyton Pritchard to take the Derek White role, and somebody to take the Drew Holiday role.
Well, most importantly, who are you asking to take the front court
Brown
role?
Taking the Tatum role. Of course, that's what. But like, you're asking everybody to take one step up, and I just didn't think that everybody there was capable of doing that. And it hasn't manifested itself. Like, I don't think Derek White's having a bad season. I don't think Peyton Pritchard's having a bad season. But they're getting killed in the glass. Like, they're not rebounding.
That's what I
all.
meant.
Yeah.
Most importantly, I think, look, you can sustain the loss of Tatum with a guy like Jaylen Brown and Derek White and some of the guys who are all moving up a level. You can't sustain it without having the front court that they, by the way, knew they were getting.
Yeah.
Right? They knew. They made trades this summer. They knew what they were sort of getting rid of and shedding, and that spoke to them thinking this was a gap year more than some of their fans clearly did. And I'm curious, we'll have to see. Where do you think they're... You said at one point preseason that you thought maybe they'd be trying to get a little higher draft pick. And it's possible in the Eastern Conference we have a more competitive race to the bottom than we do to the top?
I mean, I guess, the Wizards started better than I thought they were going to. I'm thinking about the guys that are in the race to the bottom. Charlotte's been okay as well. LaMelo Ball's
Yeah, but
fine.
if you're a team that's looking for a high draft pick, and this draft, by the way, just looks better and better the more we see some of these young guys who are going into the draft next year play.
Oh, yeah. Kid from BYU can play.
Right?
Just a little bit of him.
Right? So teams that are interested in being high in the draft, they want their players to do well a bit at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Getting a few wins early, getting some of that experience, having a culture, creating a culture where guys aren't afraid to lose, that's fine. And then, if the team's winning too much, we've seen it a million times before, start having injuries and pulling guys and changing their strategy. And so I think the Wizards will be in that race. I think Charlotte will be in that race.
I hope Charlotte's not. They've been in that race for so long. And there's real talent in Charlotte. You can see,
agree.
like, LaMelo, even though he's still taking some mind-numbing shots, is really friggin' good. Brandon Miller, when he's healthy, really friggin' good. Miles Bridges fits in opposite LaMelo Ball. Con Knipple will eventually be a reliable perimeter shooter. Like, I like Charlotte. Charlotte is one of those teams that should be in the play-in mix this year.
Okay.
Should be.
Do they want to be?
I mean, at some point you have to want to be, right? Like, how many top 10 picks do you have with the last few years? LaMelo, 3rd overall pick. Brandon Miller, was he 2? Con Knipple, 4. Like, you've got, the core is there. It's time to make a run. LaMelo Ball's in what, year 6?
Yeah.
Time to make a run. Come on, Hornets. Time to make a run. Give Charlotte something to cheer about. Make Charlotte great again. That's what we need to do, is make Charlotte a great basketball town.
You just give everyone those old school starter jackets and we can talk about it. Well, okay, so Boston, back to my original question.
Sean Grandy had some of the stats.
Okay.
I want to read some of them because they're really bad through 3 games. Offensive rebounding, 18th. Defensive rebounding, 30th. Total rebounding, 29th. So rebounding is a problem, and it's not something that personnel is going to make them better at.
Personnel.
Namus Keita has been okay as a rebounder, but they don't have much size in terms of playable guys in that front court.
They purposely knew what they were doing.
Yes. Assist percentage, 30th, so nobody's passing the ball. True shooting, 24th. Offense, 21st. Defense, 23rd. They have been gashed in some of these games by big runs. The Pistons put a big run on them on Sunday. Was the Knicks? I think the Knicks put a run on them during that game. These are not stats that you want to see early in a season. And like I said, some of those stats, I don't know that there's a pathway to significantly improve in those categories. Like, Al Horford ain't walking through that door. Even Luke Cornett ain't walking through that door. They've got Namus Keita, Sam Hauser, Chris Boucher. I mean, I saw them play like Josh Mino for stretches against the Pistons. Like, they just don't have the personnel. That is my problem with the Celtics. They just don't have the personnel. Like, it's that old, with the Bill Parcells line. Like, you are what your record says you are. You are what your roster says you are. This is a talent league. And even in a conference as weak as the East, the Celtics do not have the horses to be, among the more competitive teams in the conference. I don't think they're as bad as 0-3. I think they'll get better once some of these guys get reps and the chemistry develops. I think Missoula's still going to find a way to coach his ass off for these guys. But they're not going to be a good rebounding team. They're going to have trouble. They're shooting the ball. Like, they lost, I think, their top 3 or 4 best 3-point shooters. They're still shooting the same number of threes. They're still jacking them up at the same kind of rate. You got to have the personnel.
Okay, so answer my question, though, is your direction as a franchise, both this year and in the coming years when you get Tatum back, right? So after they win the title, Whit Grossbeck is out there saying, I'm bringing back the entire roster. I don't care how expensive it is. I'm all in, baby. He stuck to his word.
Easy to say knowing he was going to sell the team, but yes.
Well, I'm just saying. He did what we had wanted Denver to do, right?
Yes.
In the cycle before or whatever. When you talk about them not having the roster and not having the talent, the irony is they had one of the deepest rosters in the league prior to the Tatum injury, right? Tatum is gone for presumably the year. We'll see what happens when they bring him back, if they bring him back, if they have to protect him from himself, et cetera, et cetera. They made the decision this summer clearly that they expected to go to the year without Tatum. And they weren't going to go into the second apron, and they weren't going to be a huge luxury tax team and all the stuff. And all the guys you just mentioned who aren't walking through that door, they let leave the team, right? So because of that, is it good for this team to finish, 6th You say they're not an 0-3 team, truly.
No.
Is it good for them to finish 6th or 7th in the standings?
I think that's going to be tough.
Or do you say, okay, maybe it's better if they finish out of the play-in?
Look, I think for the long-term health of the team, it's probably better if they finish out of the play-in in the lottery. They have control over their draft pick.
That's what I mean.
If they hit the lottery, get some of that lottery luck we've seen the last couple of years, maybe you get something really high. Even if not, it's a cheap rotation player that can be part of the next iteration.
Deep draft.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to even talk about this 3 games of the season, but like, in the long-term health of the team is probably better to miss out on the play. I just think that it may not even be a choice on their part.
But I wonder if that choice was already made.
I mean, in some way it was made.
When you decide to have that shallow up front.
You decide not to go all in for Luke Cornett. You decide to trade Drew Holiday. I mean, they were always going to kind of lose Al Horford, I think, because I don't think Horford was looking to spend maybe the last year of his career on a team that wasn't going anywhere. I think they have built this roster for the 26-27 season.
Right.
Whatever happens this season, I think, is just gravy for them. But I mean, what I've seen.
But is it? So I just.
Well, not gravy. Gravy is the wrong word, but it's kind of like it's a gap year. It is what it is.
I mean, look, the uber example of this is always the Spurs, right? David Robinson goes down for a season.
Yeah.
The Spurs play terribly. They end up with Tim Duncan as the number 1 draft pick in the next year. And then you end up with a team with Tim Duncan and David Robinson. And it's sort of the prototype for tanking, really, in the NBA. And you have a team in Boston where they strip the roster so much that as talented as Jaylen Brown is, as competitive as Joe Mazzulla is, Joe Mazzulla will go into no game planning to lose. But to me, the way they set this team up with such glaring holes, I wonder, it's not like we're the first people to have this conversation. I'm sure they had the conversation of what is the goal for this season. And I don't think it's, hey, however high we finish, it's gravy. I think maybe the smart money in that front office was, what if we set up the team so they really, to your point, can't help but finish out of the play-in? And this is the deepest draft we've had in years, and that was even considering how deep the draft was last year. And we get a player who's going to help set us up for the future and be part of the learning experience of the Jason Tatum years.
I think that was certainly a scenario that was talked about and has been talked about in Boston. I mean, I think there was an outside chance, and maybe there still is, that this team will figure out its defensive deficiencies. You get more out of the likes of Luke Garza, and Keita continues to play well, and maybe the shots start to fall more for Pritchard and Hugo Gonzalez, who had 1 good game already. He plays at a higher level as the season progresses, but they are what I thought they were.
Yeah.
They just kind of are. They're exactly what I thought they were. They're a competitive team. A couple of these losses have been pretty competitive.
Yeah.
They're not going to get blown out of too many games, but they're just not, even in this conference, they're not going to be able to hang in there with the more talented teams.
And look, I do want to qualify. Yes, a Joe Mazzulla team, a Jaylen Brown team, these guys are going to be competitive out on the floor to the best of their ability. And by the way, we see it year after year. It's going on in Oklahoma City right now. You can be a 2nd-round pick and, be such a valuable part.
Oklahoma City, I read about this a little bit on Tuesday. Like, it's just not fair that, like, AJ Mitchell
that's my point.
is out there looking.
Who I was referring to.
That is just cruel for. Yeah, I know there are teams out there watching AJ Mitchell play.
Mid-second round?
Mid-second round.
Right.
They're also, by the way, playing, what's his name, Barnheiser?
Yeah.
Like.
And Mitchell's on a seriously ridiculous contract.
Mitchell, because they're the smartest team in the league. Mitchell was, I think, a 2-way guy last year.
He was a 2-way guy.
And he signed a 3-year, $9 million contract with the 3rd year being a team option.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is he's going to play 2 years on this dirt cheap deal, and then they're going to rip up the 3rd year and then give him like a team-friendly long-term deal like they've done with a bunch of guys.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, this guy's going to be there for 7-8 years. Like,
yeah.
They have the 2 veteran guards they need now in Lou Dort and Alex Caruso, and they've got the 2 guards they're going to need later in Cason Wallace and AJ Mitchell. And if this Barnheiser guy doesn't know what to play, he doesn't even look like, I mean, due respect, doesn't look like a basketball, looks like a weightlifter.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he's getting a remarkable number of minutes in games for a guy that was just a 2nd-round pick out of Northwestern. Like this is. If he turns out he can play, Just stop letting Oklahoma City draft in the second round.
Dude, if he turns out he can play, this podcast will become a podcast all about him because he's a Northwestern product.
Did you think he could play? Did you watch him last year?
Yes, he's a great locker room guy.
Yeah.
He's a great energy guy.
Looks like it. It's
he's everyone around.
He was in the
that
opener,
Northwestern
though.
team.
I was in Oklahoma City for the opener.
Yeah.
He's getting first quarter minutes.
Because he is one of those guys who plays his way onto the floor. He is
On that
never
team?
He's never going to. Well, I mean, they're still out. You still have some injury issues on that
Not
team.
that
but
many out there playing.
But
Still got like
no,
9 guys that can play.
Look, and that's a team where if you're a guy like that, you get minutes.
Yeah.
The word around him his whole time at Northwestern was he's a guy who's going to make more waves. If he can get an NBA shot, we'll make more waves than you think. So
Wow, this
again,
is a throated defense of Barnheiser.
I'm just saying if he does well, we'll have to see. He's a rookie.
Look, Oklahoma City drafted him. They must know something. They must see something. But I would say this about Mitchell. Last thought on him is he is my first, that's a wrap for the award. He's most improved. He's most improved.
Okay.
He's a second round pick. And I'm not the guy that votes for the lottery pick that gets a lot better. I hate that. I hate these guys are supposed to get better. It's the second round pick that played 36 games a year ago on a 2-way deal that is now looking like a fringy all-star guy early on. Not that he's going to get there, but if he's averaging like 15 and 5 this season on Oklahoma City, which means he could be averaging like 20 and 10 on Washington or Utah, come on, that's a shoe-in.
Okay, so I started the podcast talking about Victor Wembanyama and my way too early prediction that he was going to be top 10 of all time, and now my way too early prediction that he's probably going to be top 5 of all time. Is Sam Presti in the running for best front office guy of all time?
He's up there.
Right? Jerry West. I mean, who are we talking about?
You're talking Jerry West. You're probably talking Pat Riley, at least in the modern era. Got to give Danny Ainge some credit for the teams he built over the last 2 decades in Boston. But like Presti doing it, you're talking about West doing it in LA, Riley doing it in Miami, Ainge doing it in Boston. Sam doing it in Oklahoma City is different.
Yes.
Like getting guys in Oklahoma City, getting guys to commit to Oklahoma City, having one iteration of a super team, rebuilding it and building another even better one than the last one. I don't know. He's up there. He's on a very short list.
Well, there's 3 parts of that job, right? It's how well do you draft?
Yeah.
Obviously, A++++. And I would say at least half of the front office guys that he's really depended on have left to go to other teams because everyone wants the Sam Presti guy, and they're still drafting like that. So obviously, he's the center of that. Then it's what contracts can you guys to sign, and how do you structure the team and the cap sheet and all of that stuff. Obviously, we just talked about AJ, just a master of that. And then the third part of it is personnel acquisition. Who do you bring in as a free agent and when, and what kind of trades do you make? I mean, he's managed it over and over again in a market where you say is not a traditional, oh my God, the stars all want to play in Oklahoma City market. I don't know, man. I think he is right up there. I think we are watching it in real time.
He gets these guys. They must lead the league in team options. Usually it's the player option or an all guarantee. They get guys like Dort, like Hartenstein, AJ Mitchell's different because he didn't really have a ton of options at that point. But they get these guys on team option types of deals, which gives them the flexibility. It's going to create the possibility that they can keep this team together over the long term. If you can just stay under that second apron for as long as possible, they're going to be tough. All right, I'm going to get my AJ Mitchell jersey. That's what I'm going to do right now, Rachel. I'll get you one in your size as well.
Okay, I want a Hornet starter jacket, but then we'll go from there.